Agencies for the spring semester of 2015. My name is Michael Smith, and I'm the professor. Now, you political science veterans out there will know that normally this class is taught by Dr. John Barnett, but John Barnett got a Fulbright scholarship to study in Vietnam, and he is in Vietnam this semester, so I am teaching this class, and I'm teaching it online. I like to make these first day of class videos for online classes, and in a few minutes I'm going to ask you to make one too. Either a video, an audio recording, or an essay, and upload it to Canvas, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I want the class to have a little bit of a personal touch. I don't mind online classes. I've been teaching them for a while now, and certainly they come in handy for students that can't travel to Emporia or have busy schedules or what have you, and I'm at the point where I don't mind teaching them. I like Canvas a lot better than I liked our old internet platform, Blackboard, if you remember that one. And that's made me warm up to online classes, but there's still a problem with online classes, and that is that they can be impersonal. You don't see the face, you don't hear the voice of the person that's teaching you, nor do I see your face or hear your voice. You do your work, you upload it to Canvas, it disappears into the internet, and then out of nowhere, like in The Wizard of Oz, boom, a grade appears along with comments if it's a written assignment. And I'm just not comfortable with that. I like that personal touch. I may not be the best looking person in the world. I may not have the best voice, but I just think you might want to see and hear from the person that's going to be teaching your class. Now, having said that, this is not a regular thing for me throughout the semester. It's something I do at the beginning of every semester for my online classes, but I'm not going to be regularly recording myself, for example, lecturing and posting it on Canvas. I just don't teach that way. Instead, the way this course is laid out is that it's laid out as if it's a Tuesday, Thursday class. Now, you don't have to come onto campus on those days. It's all online, however. You also don't have to be at your computer at fixed times. Now, I know that there are some professors that like to interact with their students every class on the computer, even if it's an online class. And I see the benefits of that, and I support my colleagues who teach that way, but I don't happen to teach that way. I start out the semester with these first day of class videos. I'm doing one. I'd like you to do some type of introduction to yourself, and I'm going to make those available to your classmates so you can watch each other's videos, listen to each other's recordings, and read each other's essays. By the way, you don't have to do all three, just one, audio, video, or essay, not all of them. But anyway, just want to give it that personal touch, that human touch, even though most of what we're going to be doing is going to be done over the internet through Emporia State's online platform, which is Canvas. And in a few minutes, I'm going to turn the computer camera toward my computer monitor, and I'm going to show you how to use Canvas. Now, you may already know. You may have used it for other online courses or other on-campus courses, because we're now using it for on-campus courses as well. But just in case, I'm going to give you some points just for learning how to use Canvas. So stick with it with this video, because pretty soon I'm going to tell you how to get easy points to start out the semester. And all you have to do is learn how to use Canvas. That's it. And I'll give you points for it. It'll make life so much easier for all of us later in the semester, because starting this coming Tuesday, you'll have a real assignment due, a real substantive assignment, and it'll be due on Canvas. So if you can learn now how to use Canvas, then it'll be so much easier for you starting on Tuesday when you'll be doing readings and posting work on Canvas. So what's this course about? Well, it's government agencies. It used to be called bureaucracy, but we decided that wasn't the most exciting title, so we changed it to the even more exciting government agencies. And of course, it's a class about government agencies. It is focused on the United States federal government. Now, we all know that other governments have agencies. State governments do, city governments do, school districts, and of course the governments of other countries and the United Nations and non-governmental organizations or NGOs. They all have agencies, although in some countries they might call them ministries. So I should tell you up front that the focus of this class is on government agencies in the United States at the federal level. And what we're going to do is we're going to start out talking about sort of real-world practical, on-the-ground issues concerning government agencies. How do they function really? Not in theory, but really. What do they really do, and how do they do it? In fact, the subtitle of one of the books I've assigned, James Q. Wilson's Bureaucracy, is What Government Agencies Do and Why They Do It. And that's exactly what this class is about. So we're going to start out the semester with assignments from the James Q. Wilson book, and we're going to move through very slowly. I once wrote in my own book review for a class myself about this James Q. Wilson book, Bureaucracy. If you had to learn about the bureaucracy from just one book, this book should probably be the one. And I wrote that 15 years ago, and I still believe it's true. I'm so excited I get to teach this book again. I haven't taught it in years. Rather than assign a whole bunch of books to you, I've only assigned 2. But we're going to spend a lot of the time on bureaucracy, and we're going to work each and every chapter because James Q. Wilson, a legendary political scientist who passed away just a few years ago, works through every possible aspect you would need to know about government agencies in this terrific class, in this terrific book. I hope it's a terrific class too. Certainly it's a terrific book, and it deserves our attention. So I have not combined any chapters of this book except for 1 and 2. So your first assignment, which will be due this coming Tuesday, combines chapters 1 and 2, the introductory chapters of the James Q. Wilson book. And then that's it. From then on, every class period, and I've made the class periods Tuesday and Thursday. Again, you don't have to come to class or be online at a certain time. That's just when the homework will be due. Every class period, you'll only read 1 chapter. So, and twice a week you'll read 1 chapter of James Q. Wilson, because I want you to take your time with this classic book. Really explore it. And the way he's got it broken down is by topic. And so I don't want to confuse things by globbing 2 chapters together. I want to explore each and every topic about the bureaucracy from probably the most famous book written by a famous scholar of the subject. Wilson was a famous professor at Harvard. And he was involved in real-world governing, including some controversial things. James Q. Wilson was the co-founder of the idea of broken windows policing. The idea of very aggressively policing even small violations of the law, like breaking the windows of an abandoned building or jumping the turnstile in New York City to get on the subway without paying the fare. With the theory, the broken windows theory, being that if little things aren't dealt with early on, they snowball. It creates a climate of lawlessness, and little things become big things. That's not in this particular book, but that was a theory he helped develop. Very controversial, but it really changed policing in this country. And it gives you an example of how James Q. Wilson was not just a professor who wrote academic books that were read by other professors. He really got engaged with the real world of public administration. And by the way, the bureaucracy is something that's involved in policing and firefighting and EMTs. In fact, one of the concepts we'll cover this semester is the idea of the street-level bureaucrat. We have this stereotype in our head. This is one of the reasons why we changed the title of this course from bureaucracy to government agencies. Because when we hear bureaucracy, we have this stereotype, right? It's somebody sitting at a desk, maybe in a cubicle. People call them on the phone and they tell them, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have to call somebody else and you have to follow all these rules and so on and so forth. Or maybe the bureaucracy is the people at the Department of Motor Vehicles. You go in to get a driver's license, register your car, and they tell you, you don't have the right paperwork, you're going to have to go get more forms signed and come back. And that's our stereotype. But the street-level bureaucrat is the person that works for a government agency or even a nonprofit that gets a government grant that actually delivers government services at the street level. That is to say, at the level of the people. A police officer is a street-level bureaucrat, a firefighter, an EMT, a teacher, a college professor. They're all street-level bureaucrats. That's something we're going to cover in the class today. Or not today, but this semester, excuse me, as we read that James Q. Wilson book. And so, again, just to sum up so far, we start with the Wilson book. Chapters 1 and 2 are combined. That assignment's going to be due this coming Tuesday. And then after that, from then on, it's 1 chapter at a time, all the way up through chapter 20. And there will be assignments and work on Canvas, which I'm going to show you in just a few minutes when I turn this camera around and point it at my computer screen. There is one more book. It's called, what is that book called? I believe it's called Mastering Public Administration. I know that the editors are Fry and Rodschelders, R-A-A-D, begins Rodschelders, and it's a series of essays about classic famous scholars in public administration. And that's a good one too, and we'll be doing each chapter of that book. But because I wanted to put so much emphasis on the Wilson book, because I think it's the book you need to know inside and out, backward and forward, if you want to understand government agencies, I've put the Fry and Rodschelders book toward the end of the semester. And a couple of times when we're reading that book, I have combined chapters. So you'll do 2 chapters per class every now and then. I won't do that twice in a row. So in any given week, you won't have more than one assignment that combines 2 chapters. But I've combined a few chapters to make more time for the James Q. Wilson book. But again, at the end of the semester, we'll do Fry and Rodschelders. And the way I look at it is James Q. Wilson is going to teach us about the practical, the real world of public administration. This is what it's really like for people that work for government agencies. And then the Fry and Rodschelders is going to bring in the theory. Here's some classic theories of public administration. And after working through that James Q. Wilson book, we'll be able to reflect on some of these theoretical perspectives about what is happening and whether they could help someone be a better public administrator. Also, one thing about the James Q. Wilson book is it's a little dated. It was published in 1991. This is good in a way because it means it's readily available for an affordable price. And I know students hate expensive textbooks. But it's also got the downside that some of the examples will be a little dated, and they'll be more dated for you than for me because I was around when this book was published. I was in college myself. Many of you may not have even been born when this book was published. And so these examples from the 1980s, maybe the early 1990s, maybe even the 60s and 70s may look a little dated. So what I'm going to do is as we work our way through James Q. Wilson, every now and then I'm going to add some readings prior to the due date for the assignment. Articles I find available on the web that give some real world but also more recent applications or some of the ideas that you see in the James Wilson book. And so you can apply it to more recent things that government agencies have done to make the ideas seem less dated. I don't have all those ready, but as we go, as I work my way through the book along with you, I will find articles with more recent examples of the topics in the book. You'll still need to read the chapters in the book, of course, but then there will be these articles, most of them short, I think, a few maybe medium length, but they will supplement that, and then all that will be fair game for testing. And then with Fry and Rodschelders, that's a recent book. The scholars they're writing about, though, wrote more than 100 years ago in some cases. In other cases, it was more like 40 or 50 years ago. I think it starts in the late 1800s and goes up through the 1970s. I think Charles Lindblom would be the most recent, but we'll get to that later. That book, though, is a recent book that is about authors that wrote earlier. So some of the examples in that book are modern, so we won't need supplemental materials with that. And those readings will be a little bit longer than the chapters of the James Q. Wilson book, especially when from time to time we double up on chapters in that book. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of what's going on in this class. Now, you might be wondering, well, how do I actually do the assignments? Now, again, you may already be familiar with Canvas, but please watch the rest of this video and also take the quiz I'm going to show you, the first day Easy Points quiz, and do the first day assignment, the introductory assignment, and get some easy points and also a chance to add your own personal touch to the class by introducing yourself to me and to your classmates. So now it's time to turn the computer around and point it